Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this conversation where I'd like to share some of the strategies that organizations are adopting or should be adopting, given the fact that today there's definitely a huge war for talent. Organizations are trying to scale up their hiring numbers. They're finding it fairly difficult to get those numbers as well. So I'll walk you through some of those things which really can be done to help organizations. So let's first look at what's the current situation. So if you look at it, I think the current hiring volumes that we are seeing is fairly unprecedented, right? I mean, this has been primarily because there's been a good amount of funding. So there's a good number of startups which are scaling up big time. Some of the captives which were, on their growth path, so they continue to hire. Obviously, attrition has actually led to a good amount of hiring volumes. And it's no more, I would say, an India phenomenon, because today this hiring is happening across the globe. So every country, every organization within those countries are definitely trying to hire. I mean, this has also been primarily post-COVID. There has been a good amount of digitization efforts that have been undertaken. Customers have figured out that people are working remotely, so it really doesn't matter whether they are 10 kilometers apart or 10,000 kilometers apart. So there's been a good amount of push for offshoring as well. And yeah, so that's precisely where there's a huge hiring volumes that you're trying to see. Also, in the past, if you look at, there was fairly restricted hiring within the domain. But if you look at today, a good amount of these skills are quite common, right? So I mean, irrespective of domain, people are hiring for DevOps, clouds, full stack hiring. A lot of UI UX hiring that is happening, hiring for product management, customer support, customer success, tech support, because a lot of these businesses have gone digital, and hence these hiring have also kind of picked up momentum. And especially in the context of India, you would see that organizations would hire from mostly within their cities, because to improve their joining ratios, obviously, unless and until it's a very niche talent or for senior level hiring, people would organizations would typically hire from their own cities, and even within those cities they'll try to look at people who are within the 15-20 kilometer range. But now all the employees are seated out of, say, roughly 200 to 300 to 500 cities in the country. So as a result, there is nothing called as a base location. So organizations are hiring across. So today, people from say Shillong are getting hired from companies based out of Bangalore or no, across the country. So there is nothing called as a geographical restriction, and that's the reason where the entire country is open for people to hire from. And now there are also organizations which are hiring from outside the country to India, and they're saying that people can pretty much work from home, and it'll get kind of managed. So this is definitely not a passing phase, because in the past we have had hiring where there would be a spike for 1 quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters. But the way it's looking like, this is going to continue, and this might go on till almost end of next year. I mean, why end of next year? I mean, just a possibility, because a good number of college hires would join sometime May, June of next year, and that might kind of help to slow down the hiring, because the absorption of talent would happen. But at least it doesn't look like that it's going to slow down any soon. So organizations might as well get prepared for this, rather than thinking that it might kind of be taken care of automatically. Because in the past, what would typically happen is that within a certain sector, it would be one or two companies which are going through a growth path. Others might go slow. But now it is not the case. Every company, every sector, by and large, is hiring, and hiring by huge volumes. Also, at the end of the day, there's limited talent, right? Especially for some of these skills that we are talking about. It's not that they are available in plenty. And obviously, there's a lot of competition for that talent. And added to that, some of the complexities are because most of this hiring is happening remotely. There's hardly any connect with the candidate, or a connect, because in our, say, a hiring 18 months back, we would see most of these candidates would walk into an organization, they'll get a look and feel of the company, the building, they'll be interacting with multiple folks. So they get a hang of what is really happening. But today, everything is happening remote, and that's one of the reasons where the amount of connect that an organization would have want to build with a candidate is not really there. Also, Entry-level hiring has also been doubled. So because people are not able to hire laterally, so organizations are looking at trying to get early talent. And added to that, if you look at today, one of the biggest challenges to hire a recruiter, right? Because if you look at most of the organizations have kind of increased their hiring numbers to almost 3 to 4 times. And obviously, the volume of recruiters required to do this hiring has also gone up multifold. And also given the fact that everybody is doing remote, the efficiencies are a little low. And that's the reason where you need more and more people to kind of manage all of these things. So let's look at what are some of the things that we really need to manage some of these things. See, historically, to solve a recruitment problem, most of the organizations would have focused on sourcing. Sourcing means adding more sources, empaneling more sourcing partners. But today, that single bullet solution is not really going to work, right? It's exactly like when we had a COVID situations. Just getting more hospital beds was not a solution. I mean, you needed more doctors, you needed more oxygen kits, you needed more vaccinations. In a similar way, if you look at today within hiring, you need to look at all the facets, including how we are going about planning, how are we branding, and managing the selection process, how are we onboarding. And I think the most important part that needs to be looked at is automation. See, Excel sheet has always been the favorite for, I would say the recruitment fraternity. But today, because the candidate, the hiring manager, and the recruiter, all three are in different locations, it's not really possible to manage data, communication, updates purely through Excel sheets. The candidates used to walk into the organization's campus, so it was fairly easy to track and manage things. But since everything is happening remote, so automation is really the need. And we'll talk more about some of the specific automation aspects, down the line. So if you look at planning and, the traditional planning would be saying that if you are wanting, say, 10 joins, make around 15 to 20 offers, which means you do roughly, say, around 100 interviews, which means you get to around 200 resumes to work with. I think this unidimensional metrics is planning is not really going to work, because the number of joins that organizations want to make is much more than what they'll be able to source, which essentially means that they'll have to look at the intermediate pipeline and see how they can kind of tweak those numbers to see how these joining numbers could be achieved. So one of the things that will have to be done is relook at how the role and skill experience match is there. So if in the past we were trying to hire somebody with around 8 to 10 years of experience, we might have to look at somebody maybe a little junior, right? Because you would understand that within the industry, the talent always kind of gets created at the bottom of the pyramid, and it slowly moves up with experience. So for most of the roles, we should try to see if we can kind of go one level below, because there the volume of candidates that you might get will be a little more than at that particular level. So that's one area to look at. The others could be if we are able to hire for some generic skills and we're able to kind of train people for those niche skills that we might be hiring. I mean, as an example, you want to hire Salesforce guys, you may not really get so many of them. Why can't we hire good Java candidates with good potential, train them, and then kind of scale them? Because anyway, to meet these numbers, it might take anywhere between 4 to 6 months, given the fact that you make multiple offers, declines, and so on and so forth. You might as well hire people, train them over the next 2 to 3 months. And given the fact that everybody is remote, so the possibility of training candidates is also relatively easier than what it would have been in the past. So if you look at hiring has largely become faceless. So as a result, candidates are looking at something very specific, which they can go have an understanding about the organization, and then they decide whether they actually come for the interview or even for joining. So it's just like an online site, right? So if you're trying to buy things online, the merchandiser creates multiple views of the product, positions it. So that is how exactly the new age career pages have to be designed. It cannot be just a glossary of all the open positions. So, and people also need to look at various other means like virtual events, hackathons, because candidates are also much more open to kind of, take a break from their regular work, attend these hackathons, these events, They also get to more candidates. They also get to know more people from the organization, and that's how the brand for the organization kind of gets built. And somewhere these are advantages as well. In the past, it may not have been possible to kind of arrange for a quick 30-minute discussion with the CTO of the organization, because they are geographically at very different locations. But now all of those things are possible, and I think that should definitely be leveraged. Um, Today, I think one of the challenges organizations are also facing is the compensation part. So we believe that most of these compensations are way beyond what used to be the typical organization trend. But then I think what really needs to be looked at is do a more of an analysis to see whether it makes economic sense, whether we are losing out on the opportunity cost by not looking at the compensation. Yes, compensations have definitely gone beyond. Sometimes it looks unsustainable, but we can definitely make a more rational decision looking at the opportunity lost rather than trying to keep talking about saying, hey, this compensation seems to be fairly high. I think that helps in the decision making and move faster. And obviously we need to kind of figure out some long-term strategies rather than some of the short ones that typically people look at when, especially when the hiring numbers are fairly high. The other things that we could also look at is some of the rehire programs. So in the past, some of the candidates with career breaks might have been ignored. Women coming back from a maternity break, if there is some kind of a ramp up provided for them to upgrade their skills, now it's much more easier to get them back to work, because remote working also helps some of these individuals who have taken career breaks because of family or individual constraints. They might actually find it much more easy to come back to work because of these mechanisms. We can also look at gig workers, because the pandemic has also made people to relook at what they really want in life. So some of them have said, I really don't want a full-time job, and so we can look at some of those. We can look at veterans, PWD, look into the community, which was not always the primary focus area from a large volume hiring standpoint. So looking at these factors, it also might make sense that we look at a lot of pre-assess talent, right? Because pre-assess talent obviously gives us more agility. It also gives more objective data to select candidates. And that's where the realistic screening happens, where most of the times hiring managers tend to look at skill A and B and C and D and so on within the same candidate, which is not really feasible. And at that place, if we have some level of assessments which gives the potential of the candidate, and hence there's always this conversation that can be had to see why don't we hire this person, rather than looking at all the combination of skills. And that's where the automation plays a big role. If we have to kind of screen a large number of candidates, today there are tools where you can send out links to candidates and record a video of some of their feedback. For a lot of frontline hiring, we could use this methodology to screen people. If you're looking at some communication skills, we want to do a basic HR screening. And all of this is much more possible today, primarily because of technology, but they have to be leveraged. So it cannot happen that we follow the same process that we adopted in the past to do the current hiring. One, because of the volume, and second, because of the current situation where you can't really make the candidate. Obviously, since we have to hire more, that means we need to process more. Processing more has its own set of challenges. So how do we get bandwidth? Today, in a good number of organizations, the business folks are already really busy managing customer deliverables, assimilating the existing employees, and so on. So interviewing bandwidth is definitely an area of concern. And that is where I think organizations should also try to see if they can use external interviewers, because that's one possibility that is existing. There are a good number of gig workers, senior technology folks who are ready to give their extra free time on the weekends or evening to do those interviews. So that also helps the recruitment team to hire for the organizations, because there are a good number of scenarios where hiring managers typically tend to hire for their particular team rather than for the organization. Now, if you have a feedback from an external panel, using that feedback, you can repurpose the candidature across various jobs that could be in the organization, and that makes much better utilization of the talent pipeline. Now, one of the key areas that needs to be looked at is also impersonation, right? Because candidates are taking interviews from home, so which means you need good tools to manage their assessments, their interviews. And what organizations have realized in the last 12 to 18 months is using any of the regular meeting tools or collaboration tools is not really helping out. How do you ensure that you're able to capture the ID proof of the candidate? You definitely need some kind of AI to tell you whether it's the same candidate who's kind of going across various stages. You can't really use your recruiters to come in, take photographs, or ask the hiring manager to record, and then somebody has to go back and look at it. You're hiring in large volumes. So your tool should be able to capture the candidate when they first enter the system. And as and when a test or an interview 1, 2, 3, or a charge round of interviews happen, the tool should automatically let you know that it is the same candidate. And that is where candidate management, and it also creates a better experience for the candidate, because you collect a lot of information upfront. You're able to kind of do doc collections and other things much better, and also validate some of these things much better if you have automation in place, rather than collecting most of this data over emails and stuff. Obviously, the final truth comes when you make an offer to the candidate, and that's where the entire thing starts off. Candidates typically ask questions once they've got the offer, and these questions are very basic questions. Can you explain to me my job role? What would be my designation? Do you think I'll have to come back to office? How many days can I work remotely? And so on and so forth. All said and done, a recruiter never has time, and I would say patience to answer all of these questions, because and these are candidates asking the same questions, or multiple times, and so on. So you definitely need to keep aside a very different team to manage this activity. We cannot have the regular recruiters doing this job of the candidate engagement as well. Either it is done by a separate team, you outsource it to an organization, or figure out what really needs to be done. But post-offer engagement has to be a very clear activity. It is not that your joining ratios will increase by a large volume because of this. I mean, this is just like buying an insurance. You at least get to know whether the candidate is going to reject the offer, and then plan better. And obviously a better candidate engagement creates a better experience for the candidate, and joining ratios would definitely see an improvement. But today, because of the hiring volumes, a good amount of recruiters are primarily focusing on getting more candidates and putting them through the process, rather than handholding the candidates till the end. So, and this is one of the most, I would say, critical piece in the entire supply chain that we are talking about. Now, since we also spoke about early talent hiring, because at the end of the day, organizations have already planned for huge volumes of hiring to be done from colleges. So India produces roughly around 10 lakh engineering graduates, out of which roughly around 3.5 to 4 lakh are employable. So today, everybody is going to go behind that talent pool, right? So obviously, organizations have their list of colleges which they have been historically using to go through. But this year they have to do something very differently. They need to broad base the college list. Now, broad basing the college list means they have to assess more candidates. Now, assessing more candidates means you need, again, automation to play that role. And automation is not just an assessment tool. So today you have an entire workflow to manage when it comes to college hiring. Candidates coming in, their assessments, their interviews, their documentation, their onboarding, their query management, and all of this has to be kind of managed seamlessly on one single platform, primarily because the volumes are fairly high. When today organizations are doing like 8 to 10,000 assessments on a single day, they're doing around 5 to 6,000 interviews on a single day on our platform. So if you see, actually it has benefited by using automation. The throughput is much better, the experience for candidates is much better, and obviously the results are much better than an offline interviewing process that is there. So actually college hiring is one area where I would say this remote hiring has actually helped. The only thing, it has to be managed well. You need to use the right tools. You need to kind of plan it much better to get the optimum results. Obviously, pure in-campus strategy is not really going to work, because you really need to look at off-campus and finishing school hiring and so on. And lastly, there are going to be exits post onboarding as well, because onboarding works, but assimilation is still a challenge. And more from a HR perspective, we need to kind of plan how do we engage with these candidates also once they come on board, so we can have more discussions around these topics if there are more queries. So you can join us in our booth in the exhibit area, and we would have some of our team members would be there to answer any of your specific queries and thoughts around the recruitment. So my message is that yes, it's going to be tough, but we can plan it and make it really good. So all the best with your hiring numbers. Thanks for your time.